I'm an African. I don't apologize for it.
You can't shoot.
Empty your barrels, please. Don't be shooting. You don't want Christians to follow you. Why?
Because this foolishness of follow Jesus, follow me, follow. Why do you want to follow? What is this?
And abantu bayakubuza, but
It's
we
an ideology.
followed you. What about us? You preached to us. We
I have a
accepted
beautiful-
Christ. You have just left us in limbo.
I have a beautiful answer for that. A patient comes to a doctor,
I saw
and the
that.
doctor heals you. And then when the doctor retires, you ask, what happened to my healing? You are healed. What do you want? Let me retire. You sorted. But if you call me back again to the Christian community, you must know, I have seen that this toe is got gangrene. This toe is becoming cancerous. I've been trying to cut this toe for the longest of time, and I discover, no, the people love their wound. When I come back, I might have not only to cut off the toe, I might have to cut off the whole leg.
Should we still expect you to stand on a Christian pulpit, Shumael?
If those pulpits belong to people, then I will not. If those pulpits belong to the owner of them, I will.
Who's the owner?
Whoever Christianity professes to be God, the omnipotent. If you called me into ministry, then you can fire me. But if he called me, then he's the one who can fire me. So the system has no jurisdiction over my function. And by the way, that separates the life of a prophet and a pastor. Separates the life of a prophet and a priest. Priests are furnitures of the building. Prophets are neither belonging to the political system or to the religious space. But at the end, they're always killed by the church.
I'm wrapping up now.
And by the way, on that, there's no prophet who ever ran a church in the Bible. So when your pastor or prophet says he's prophet so and so and he's running a church,
You and your friend Solomon agree on that one.
at least there's one place we can agree on, but we disagree on many other issues.
I know. I saw a photo of you. Was it from yesterday with Pravin Gordhan? I know you've been driving this movement for a while now, the Zimbabwean something movement. It looks like a political movement, or looks like you could be involved in politics. You met Pravin recently. What was that
We
about?
bumped on the corridors of
Oh,
power, and
okay.
Ian is the owner of ENCA. So when you go there do interviews with JJ, who do you expect to find in the corridors?
The owner.
The owner. So when I was at, while we were at it, can I do a selfie, Mr. Gordhan? And he obliged. Then we took a selfie. And I put it out, and people say, yeah, he was given a brown envelope.
Did
I don't
he
know what
ask you
that
about?
is.
Did he ask you about his friends in the judiciary? What did you talk about?
It was not preview to a long interview. Honestly, he was coming out of his interview. I was going on into my own interview, and we bumped on the corridors. And
Are you both owners then? Because he was there, you were there, and you say he's the owner.
I was doing some interviews with JJ,
JJ.
and
I saw that clip.
other products that we were working on. But between me and you, he's a human being at the end of the day. And I can take a picture with anyone I want. I don't owe anyone an explanation.
The movement?
Yes. Zimbabwe Indigenous movement is gathering momentum towards the restoration of the indigeneity of the people of Zimbabwe. The motto is simple. We were once called the Great Zimbabwe before even the Great Britain came into space. We used to be the Great Zimbabwe. I would want to go back and do a thorough research to find out what is it that made us great then. Are there any things that are in the past that we can actually learn from into the present? We used to dig gold. We used to sell processed gold. When they came, they were not coming to dig. They were coming for a finished product. So the whole issue of trade and industry and etc. has always been indigenous. And I feel that the present political system seems to undermine and underplay the knowledge, the technology of the indigenous people, which is all inculcated in our cultural expression. And if we can go back there and find things, we may build Zi, which means standing, Mba, which is house, Bhe, which is stones. So Zi, Mba, Bhe. If the homes can be established, then we can actually have a nation that is standing, founded on the rocks, which are the minerals.
Very interesting history that baffled the Europeans when they got here. Was it a German guy that supposedly discovered the great Zimbabwe was?
How do you discover my grandfather?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And by the way, I discovered a country also somewhere in Europe. There's a river there that flows in that country. They call it the Thames. I want to go and call the river Msunduzi. I also want to go and discover London. I want to go and discover London. Do you figure Pandit how? I want to see. I want to discover the white people.
Elizabeth, now immediately. Okay, I'm going to throw 3 terms at you. Tell me what comes to mind. Jesus Christ.
The white boy, blue eyes.
The Bible.
An edited version of the truth.
Investigative judgment, 1844.
Theories of a frustrated people anticipating heaven and not willing to revise their issues to make them relevant in the present environment.
I'm tempted to go forward and say Ellen, gold, Hammond, white.
Some say she was black, some say she was white, but an enemy of the Adventist church. She was never loved by the church. That's why they threw her in Australia while they were organizing the business called the Seventh Adventist Church. When they brought her back, they'd already sealed that and they wanted to bless the organization. But Ellen White in her own books discouraged the church from being organized. So the Adventist church, as we have it right now, is actually against the spirit of prophecy, which it claims to be the basis of its own belief system. So in one word, Adventist church don't believe in Ellen White.
The future.
Future, you're dealing with time. Time can be present, time can be past, time can be future. But in my space, time is vertical. Yesterday has never reached tomorrow. There's no transition. We are in the permanent present tense of participle. So there's no future. The future is actually in the past. Because the decisions we make in the present are actually affecting the tomorrow you're talking about. And tomorrow is today.
Is there anything you'd want to add on this conversation? After this, I'll ask you to say a message to someone who, not someone who follows you, but someone who admires you and what you're doing and what you've done. But now, is there anything else you want to add?
The one thing I could say is it's hard to be a black man working with black people. Because apparently when you change your focus and way of thinking, people actually think you don't even deserve to live. You don't deserve to make money. You don't deserve respect. Simply because you've changed the way you think. I'm not asking for too much. I just want to be. I'm asking for being. That's all. And if there's anything that we can do to each other, it is not to demonize each other because we cannot speak to each other. And how does God give us brains? And then at the end of the day, He does not allow us to use the same brains. Then what are they here for? If this whole thing is about faith, then let us all be stooges. Let us all be these remote control people. Let's bow our heads for prayer. We all go bow, hallelujah, we stand up and we go. But as long as there is, let us reason together. There is room. Come now. Bring what you have. Let us be in conversation. That's all I'm asking for. That as Africans, let's stop thinking that by doing white weddings, we are doing God a favor. White wedding is Western white culture. It is as cultural as an African wedding. So next time you go getting married, when they are paying cows, just ask the pastor to bring the signing certificate and just do it once and for all. For that is the truth. Let us stop practicing European culture and we say this is Christianity.
Here's something I observed from a person I used to know. Met this person in a taxi. They were reading a Bible. That stuck with me. Like, wow, this is impressive. It didn't look like they were acting. It looked like they were really into what they were doing. I got to know the person, find out that that accepted Christ, living according to his word. The person left South Africa, worked on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. So this ship used to travel across the globe. I got to talk to this person, I think 3 years into their journey working on a cruise ship. Are you still in fire for God, for Christ? This is the answer they gave. They said, after having traveled across the waters, having been to so many countries, and seeing the fate and the demise of black people throughout the world, I'm not where I used to be.
It's an honest answer. That's an honest answer. When you are under the table, you can only see the rubbish that is under the table. When you stand on the table, you can see the room. When you stand on the roof, you can see the yard. When you finally stand on a mountaintop, the horizons always expand. And the closer you are to the one who did the script, the wider the horizons are. Maybe this is the only time I can quote Revelation chapter 4 that says, come up here. And when you are there in the presence of omnipotence, in the presence of omniscience, in the presence of knowledge, then the horizons become as wide as the creation of the one who has invited you up there. Then religion divides us, spirituality unites us.
Nothing bothers me like poverty as Africa, and how our people seem to have lost all hope to get out of their situation. If I would ask you to try to motivate Abantu Bakut, how do we get ourselves out of this spiritual poverty, this material poverty, this intellectual poverty?
So, I mean, I'm not claiming or even professing to become any better than you guys. There are more intelligent guys out there. But empty those that you find. Mvura murongba ayuri kumsingwi. That's Shona. Water moves in an orderly fashion. When it finds a hole, it will cover it first and move to the next hole. That's how water flows. So when you meet people that are slightly knowledgeable, fill up. And as you are sailing and moving down the river, now when you find small little people like us also who are trying to make a contribution, and then you think that by chopping off my head, you're doing yourself a favor. Here's my motivation for Africa. Africa went to the shop and bought a packet of apples. Half the first one. The apple was rotten. Throw it away. Worms in the Pick up another one again. Half. Second bite. 2. The worms are still there. Poof. Spit on the ground. The intelligent friend standing in the room then looks at this one who has thrown away 2 apples. Says, hey, Mfit, don't do that. Switch off the lights. Let's eat the apples. Now that man is intelligent. Because you don't. The only problem we have here is the abundance of light. That's what is showing us the worms. So if we can switch off the light, we can eat the apples, and even the worms become part of the protein. Now, how do we as Africans think that by switching off the light of knowledge and information, continuous eating of these rotten apples will make them healthy? So in my own thing, guys, we may as well just switch on the lights while we're eating. When we notice what is rotten,
I think that's what we don't want. We don't want to switch on the lights. But would that be your message?
That's my message for Africa. Keep the lights on while you are eating what you don't understand. And knowledge is expensive, yes. But if you think knowledge is expensive, try ignorance. You may find that it is equally more expensive. The African people, the duty is on us. In this age of information, ignorance is a choice. I thank you. Watching something nice with Dinano, Maponga J, Chigaramboko, Ganamashamba Huda, Chirira Navana Evanji. Makumbe mwana mwisende we shano, tisu zibwezitedza zinotedzera vari kure, vari pedu vanotamba nazvo, mutambo uri paro ware, wiramiti yasvose vane matanga kugara, vakaramba kulima akalimba vanochema newe. Tingapedza here, ekani waro, shoko yangu hii, vanamushamba negore muponango kubawa nemazha kumagaro. Chiramba kusesera. Until we see you again, don't do what I wouldn't do. If you decide to do it better.